Yes. So, as we have said, okay, today we will attempt a critical evaluation or a critical analysis of the story or the course of action in the play of Waiting for Godot. Though we know that there is no story in the play as such, we also know that there is no decisive action in the whole play as such. But still, the play begins. There is an Act 1 in the English version of the play. The Act 1 ends. Act 2 begins. There is a discussion or something happening in Act 2 also. The Act 2 ends. The play ends. So ultimately, with the beginning of Act 1, the end of Act 1, the beginning of Act 2, the end of Act 2, there must be something happening in the whole play. Although, although that something is not more than a very meaningless exercise of waiting in the whole play. Right. So let us try to capture that. We know in our earlier discussions, we know that the original French version did not contain any division in acts, but the English version is divided into two acts, right? So let us discuss that what happens or what is there in Act 1. Now, at the very outset, when we go through the text of Act 1, we are introduced with two characters, or you can say the two tramps, is Trigon and Vladimir. And within a passage of 1 or 2 pages, we come to know that there is an endless wait going on in this play. We are told that these two characters, Vladimir and Trigon, are waiting for someone named Godot. They are waiting at a specific locale, at a specific location. When we look at the setting of the play, we can say that they are waiting somewhere near some road or something. So it is like a roadside situation or a roadside location. These two characters are tired of waiting. We come to this conclusion through their conversation, through their dialogues, that they are tired of this act of waiting. But they cannot dare to go away. They cannot dare to avoid this waiting. And so they, let us say, they dare not go away from this act of waiting. They dare not go away without meeting this mysterious stranger named Godot. या फिर at least they need to be told that Godot that day will come, or Godot on that very specific day will not come. So there is nothing to do for them. Hence, these two characters are passing their time by talking about multiple things, by talking about various things. And all this talk is just because of one intention of passing their time, killing their time, right? For example, one of them asked the other that where did he spend the night? And the other answered that he spent the night in a ditch and as usual, he was soundly beaten by some ruffians. Vladimir takes the credit of having made the existence of Trigon possible. He tries to tell him that, okay, without me, it would have been impossible for you to even exist. So Vladimir takes the credit of having made the existence of Trigon possible. Uh, the two means Vladimir and Trigon. They try to remember the time when they could afford to be decently dressed. On one such occasion, they visited the Eiffel Tower, and they say that they must have utilized that time for committing suicide by jumping down from the Eiffel Tower. But they did not use that time that way, and now no one would allow them to go up to the tower as they are very scandalously, as they are very shabbily dressed. Then one of them, is fiddling with his boots. Is playing or trying to take off the boots. He takes them off, and it was a Trigon, and looks very earnestly inside the boot, as if he's trying to find something inside that boot, as if he's trying to find maybe Godot inside that boot. This very act is repeated by Vladimir with his hat. The same action is repeated by Vladimir with his hat, right? That he takes off his hat, pierces inside it, looks at it, right? Vagara, vagara. So then they start talking about religion. They start talking about crucifixion of Jesus Christ. And they refer to that the thief story, that one of the thieves were saved. And then they start talking about that only one version of the Bible says so, only one saint says so, etc., etc., etc. The other says, Trigon says perhaps, that he is not at all interested in any religious story. He is not at all interested in any kind of in any kind of mythological things. He is not at all interested in the Bible. We will also notice when we go through the text, we will also notice that time and again these two tramps, either one of them or the other of them, means either Vladimir sometimes or Trigon sometimes, they are suggesting that they have waited enough. They have waited enough, and now they should go. They should move away. So every time one says this, the other says no, we can't do. We cannot go away. Why? Because we are waiting for Godot. So this is the thing that they are repeating time and again. They also start talking about the tree that was standing beside them. They also talked about the name of that tree, or rather the quality of that tree. They also start talking about the absence of leaf, the absence of any leaf on that tree. They also they're talking about that the willow tree is perhaps dead. They also hinted that why not that they should try to attempt suicide with the help of this willow tree. Then they are also very doubtful about the coming of Godot that day. But this doubt does not make any difference because they have to wait anyhow. And in any case, if Godot does not come that day, so they have to come the next day and wait for Godot once again. Then they start talking about whether they came at the same place yesterday to wait for Godot, they were not in agreement. Whether they waited for Godot at the same place the previous day also. They are unable to recall the time. They are unable to recall a lot of things. They are unable to even recall what they actually said to Godot, what request they had actually made to Godot. They are unable to recall that what they are expecting Godot to do for them. During the course of this wait, there was some noise. Even it was a very small noise, a sound, something. They think that Godot has come, but they found that it was only the sound of the wind blowing through the reeds. So this kind of thing is going on in between them. And finally, in Act 1 itself, two more characters are introduced with the arrival of Pozo and Lucky. Now, with this arrival of Pozo and Lucky, this tedium of endless waiting, you know, so this tedium of endless waiting had some variety added into it. So this arrival of Pozo, who was holding Lucky tied with a rope. So this was a sort of kind of uh, a kind of a tedium was of waiting was going to be broken, or some kind of variety is going to be added. So Lucky, who is appearing to be of Pozo, is holding a number of articles on his shoulders. He's carrying a basket, he's carrying a bag, he's carrying a stool, he's carrying Pozo's overcoat, a lot of things. So Lucky is holding a number of articles on his shoulders. And Pozo is behaving as if he is the owner. Pozo is trying to treat Lucky in a very savage, in a very brutal manner. He beats him with a whip, gives painful jerks to the rope, the neck of Lucky. Pozo also abuses Lucky, and he is doing all kind of misbehavior, all kind of misdeed, whatever you'd like to say, against Lucky. They have stopped near Vladimir and his Trigon. Pozo takes his lunch or some eatables or something from out of his basket. He takes some chicken. There was a bottle of wine also. And he takes that chicken and that wine in front of those hungry tramps, means Vladimir and his Trigon. He threw the chicken bones on the roadside, and which was later on picked up by his Trigon, and Trigon started chewing those thrown away chickens, or rather the bones of the chickens that were thrown away by Pozo. Now, Vladimir and Trigon are very disturbed over the fact that why Lucky is not unloading the burden that he was carrying. Earlier, I told you that he was carrying a heavy load on his shoulder, a basket, a stool, a bag, Pozo's, his master's coat, overcoat. So they are very disturbed. Trigon and Vladimir both are very disturbed, and they're puzzled actually that why this man Lucky is not unloading the burden when he was not moving. Even if he is standing and even if he is sitting, he is carrying that burden on his shoulder. Why he is not putting those bag and baggages on the ground? There was no answer. There was no satisfactory answer for this question given by offered by Pozo. And he simply says ke, he is carrying the bags and he is carrying the load, and he is not putting those loads on the ground because he wants to do this. So that was not a very satisfactory answer, but this was the answer that was offered by Pozo. Then Pozo tells them that this Lucky is a very unique fellow. He can dance, he can entertain them by a lot of acts that he can do. So he says he can do three things. He can think. So these were very somebody can think wala jo mamla hai, it was a very amazing thing. So Trigon and Vladimir, both of them tell Pozo rather, कि साहब अगर if your slave is so much capable of doing these things and he is capable of entertaining us, so why don't you tell him to entertain us? And afterward, Pozo tells Lucky to entertain them. He orders Lucky to dance. He orders Lucky to dance in order to entertain Vladimir and Estragon. The next surprising thing, the another surprising thing is that when Pozo tells Lucky to entertain Vladimir and Estragon by thinking, look here, as if thinking is something that can be done on at the command of somebody else. Thinking is something that can be done at the order of someone else. And thinking is something like a physical act of dancing or a speech, right? So Pozo orders Lucky to entertain Vladimir and Estragon by thinking. And at this command, Lucky starts delivering a speech. It was, or it is, a very long speech of two or more than 2 pages. This is the only longest dialogue, or this is the only longest part of a speech that is in the play. So he delivers this very long speech at the command of Pozo when he says, "Okay, you should show them how you think," right? So after the end of this speech, Pozo is not happy. Pozo is not happy. Okay, when you will read the text, you will find out that during the course of the speech by Lucky, Pozo was becoming restless, as if he was not accepting and he was not ready to accept those words said by Pozo, as if though that speech, those words by Pozo were disturbing him. Now, when you get a chance to read the text, you will find out that not there is nothing quite substantial, and there is nothing quite meaningful as such in the whole speech. But the fact of the matter is that there are a few words here and a few words there, which you can decipher as something which is anti-capitalism, or something which is anti, what you can say, industrialization, and all those kind of things that happened in the post-World War One or post-World War Two scenario, actually. Right. So it appears that as if Lucky's thinking was stopped by snatching the rope, sorry, snatching the hat. है ना? So he wanted, Pozo was, since he was getting uneasy at the speech of Lucky, so he wanted to stop Lucky, and that is why he snatched his hat. So it appears as if he was just thinking from his hat, and once the hat is snatched, his speech is stopped. His thinking process has been stopped, you can say, right? So after this, Pozo and Lucky move away from the scene, because we are told that Pozo is taking Lucky to the fair in order to sell him. Why? Because Lucky has now become old and he is not very much capable of doing his things for Pozo. So Pozo is taking his slave, that is, Pozo is taking Lucky to the fair to sell him. So at this juncture, at this occasion, on this occasion, Pozo and Lucky, they move away from the sea. They move away to the fair. And as soon as they move away, and Stragon and Vladimir are once again is reminded of their waiting for Godot, and as if they are once again aware about that wait, right? Just okay for some time they have just forgotten. So in the meanwhile, a boy arrives, a messenger boy arrives. We can say that he is the fifth character that is introduced in the play. So a messenger boy arrives, and this messenger boy tells them, that is, tells Vladimir and Estragon, okay, Godot will not come today, he will come the next day. So that was the message sent by Godot. That was the message brought by the messenger boy, that Godot will not come today, but he will surely come the next day. These two, that is Stragon and Vladimir, they started coaxing the boy, they started bullying the boy, and they started asking a lot of questions to the boy. When you will get the text, when you will see the text, you will find that the way they were arguing with the boy and putting questions in front of him. Uh, and the boy says and confirms that his master has said, and his master has sent the news that he would not come that day, but he will surely come the next day. So at this, the two tramps, that is Vladimir and Stragon, they fall in a hopeless situation. But they try to cheer each other, and they try, they resolve that they'll come once again the next day in order to continue their wait for good. Now, at this, Act 1 ends and Act 2 begins. And as you know, I must have told you sometime somewhere, okay, there is only one difference in Act 1 and Act 2, and that is that one leaf that was added to the tree, right? So the waiting resumed in Act 2 also. The two tramps are at the same site once again. They are once again doubtful that whether they are at the correct location or not. They are once again doubtful that whether they came yesterday or not, right? There are a few changes, or rather two changes. Two changes from Act 1. One is that a few leaves have come on the tree, right? And the other is that the boot, remember, in Act 1, Stragon took off his boots and left it at the same place in Act 1. So the boots left by Stragon have been taken away by someone, and who has left his own boot in his stead. So this is the second change that we can notice. That what changed? What is the second change? That Stragon has left his boot in Act 1. Now it seems that those boot, or that boot of Stragon, has been taken away by someone else, and he has left his own boot in a state at that place. Vladimir is shown singing a song about a hungry dog who had stolen a bread and was killed as a punishment. Look here. And it's a very important situation. It's a very important scene of the play, basically, you can say. Right? Vladimir singing a song about a hungry dog that stole a bread and was killed as punishment. Don't you think that these kind of situations are happening around us? Right? These kind of situations are happening around us. I don't want to give you a lot of examples, but if you are really society conscious, if you're really very conscious about your surroundings and the social happenings, the political happenings, the economic happenings that are taking place around you, you must notice these kind of situations around. For example, yesterday itself, I was just reading a news. I was having a news. I don't want to name the state because आप फिर कहेंगे कि स्टेट का नाम लेकर के आपने एक खास पार्टी को टारगेट कर दिया. I don't want to take the name of that state. But there was a news yesterday that a girl was raped by a man in an Indian state, and the panchayat took that man and that girl also was raped by that panchayat. So the panchayat
सर क्लास लीव कर दिए क्या? So sad.
Sarita, I'm audible? All right, all right. I lost my network for a while. Yeah, so I was saying that Vladimir is singing a song about a hungry dog who stole a bread and was killed in punishment. Right? Let us move on. Then Vladimir and Trigon expresses their, or rather express their affection for each other. They express their bonding for each other. They express their love for each other. And when, my dear friends, when you will read the text, you will surely and certainly realize the kind of bonding that they enjoy with each other, the kind of understanding that they enjoy with each other, right? Even the kind of language they use for each other, the kind of gesture they make for each other. For example, if you can recall that when somebody says, "Let us embrace each other," then somebody says, "No, you are stinging like garlic or something." And even all those kind of situations. When you will read the second act, you will find that they are almost behaving as if like a couple. They are almost hinting like we should depart our ways, as if they are hinting towards some sort of a divorce, right? So there are even critics. There are even critics who have even hinted towards a very special kind of a relationship between these two, right? A very queer relationship between. I hope you understand this queer theory, double E R, queer theory. Although I'm not saying this is the reality, but this is one of the hints that the critics has given. Although personally speaking, I deny this theory of queerness in this Vladimir Trigon relationship. They are more a friend, and yes, they are very intimate with each other. They are very close to each other. That the kind of bonding they have. So this need to be understood basically. So they in this act one also, and in act two also, they express their bonding for each other. मेरे बिना कैसे रह पाओगे kind of thing, that we are thinking that we should be separated earlier. How you would have lived अगर मैं ना होता तो kind of thing, right? So although they say that they find each other's company indispensable, right? They find each other's company indispensable. They also say and they also feel and they also accept that they feel better in the absence of that. Look here, it's a very strange thing. It's a very strange thing, and you need to think about this. You need to ponder about this. That they say that they find each other's company as indispensable, right? Like, they also say that they feel better in the absence of each other, right? So in this act also, Estragon is beaten, as that same had happened in Act 1. So in this act also, Estragon was beaten the last night. He was beaten by ruffians. He was not sure whether he spent that night at the same place where he spent the night before yesterday. He was not sure that he was beaten by same men. But yes, he spent the night in a ditch, right? And he was beaten by ruffians in this Act 2 also, right? We are told that that the same happened last night with Trigon once again. They are waiting for Godot, as we know, in this Act 2 also. They are once again faced with the problem of passing their time. They are once again faced with the problem of spending their time, or so to say, better to say, killing their time. Right. So Estragon seems to have forgotten whatever they did the previous day. Yeah, you must have felt the same kind of thing when in your reading of Act 1 also, right? So Estragon seems to have forgotten whatever they did the previous day. Even he is unable to remember that they were waiting for Godot. He finds that all this is very difficult to believe. But Vladimir emphasizes upon it and reminds him of many things that they had discussed yesterday. Vladimir tries to make Estragon recall that they considered the idea of hanging themselves from the tree, but had to give up the idea as the tree seemed to be too low for the purpose. Yeah, the tree seemed to be too weak for the purpose, we can say. However, all their efforts of this recalling, recollecting, passing their time, killing their time, all this failed, right? Trigon is unable to recall the past day, or the previous day. Trigon is unable to even recognize the location, the place, right? Even he is not ready to admit that they were waiting here at the same place yesterday, But anyways, they are in agreement that they are now waiting for Godot. इसमें कहीं कोई शक नहीं है that they are now waiting for Godot. So they try to pass their time by playing meaningless games, by playing meaningless things. And once again, they are playing as they were playing in their act one, in that act one. So once again, they start playing with their hat, with their boot, etc., etc. Right? Trigon starts narrating a frightful dream that he had last night. And once again, he was stopped by Vladimir. He says, "Don't narrate your dreams. They are horrible. They are nightmares. So don't narrate your nightmares." You can recall that we experienced the same act. We experienced the same experience in Act One also, right? And then, meanwhile, they find a hat lying there, and this is a very substantial thing of Act Two. Remember, they find a hat lying there at that spot. Apparently, we can say that perhaps this was the hat of Lucky, which he might have left in Act One. Now, this finding of the hat gave them a new way of spending their time. So if you read the text of Act 2, you will find out that there is a long 1 or 2 page action going on with the hat of Lucky. They have 3 hats, and they play with those 3 hats. It's a very beautiful scene, basically. It's a very beautiful scene. They have 3 hats: Trigon's hat, Lucky's hat, and Vladimir's hat. And they started playing with those 3 hats. So if you have seen the jokers in circus, you know that they're having 2-3 balls and they start playing with those balls, right? And during the course of the playing with those balls, you lost kaun sa kiska ball tha. And you lost that identification, you lost that identity that which ball belonged to whom. So the same way they started playing with their 3 hats, right? And in the meanwhile, we lost that identity. We lose that identity that it may say kaun sa hat belongs to Vladimir, which hat belongs to Trigon, and which was Lucky's hat. So this is an act that has been played in this act two. Sorry. So now they started pretending Lucky and Pozo. It's also a very interesting thing that they do in Act 2. They start playing Lucky and Pozo. One become Pozo, and the other start behaving like playing the role of Lucky, and they say that I am the owner. So that the one who says that I am the owner, he starts behaving in the manner of Pozo, as if mano ke he is the owner really, he is Pozo really in reality, and the one who says that I'm Lucky starts behaving like a slave, right? Am I audible? Adi Shakti Raj, Adnan Khan, anybody? Am I audible? Okay, right. So they pretend to be Lucky and Pozo. They also try various other games and various other acts to spend to pass their time. And then, my dear friends, in Act 2 also there is a reappearance of Pozo and Lucky. Of course, from the opposite side of the stage, you can say. Yani, in Act 1, from that side of the stage, where they have appeared, now they are reappearing from the opposite side of the stage, right? As if they are returned from the fair, as if they are returning from the fair. So Pozo and Lucky comes back, but there is a change. There is a change. The rope which was tied around Lucky's neck, and but it's one part of that, and one part of that rope was in the hand of Pozo in Act 1. So that rope, the size of that rope is shortened. The size of that rope is now shortened. And the another thing is that Pozo has now become blind. Pozo has now become blind. Look here, this is very meaningful. This is very meaningful, right? And Lucky has become dumb, D-U-M-B. So this is the change. Pozo has now become blind and Lucky is dumb. But in spite of this, Lucky is not even trying to, Lucky is not even thinking of getting rid of Pozo. He is still tired with the rope. Lucky is such a strong, hard-built man, a strong-built man, that he would have, had he wanted, so he would have got rid of Pozo. But he is not even thinking about this. So I must have told you sometime in my class that there is an invisible rope of slavery that is tied around all of us, around the neck of all of us. Right? That even the master is sitting somewhere thousands and thousands miles away, but still we are tied with that an invisible rope of slavery and bondage. Right? So Trigon does not even recognize them. And they have changed so much that Trigon does not even recognize them. Or you can say that since Trigon was having that problem of memory, right? So he's unable to recall anything that he has met them in Act 1, the day before. They met them yesterday. So Trigon does not even recognize them. And he even thinks and even asks that one of them is Godot. Meanwhile, there is also a very substantial act here, a very substantial thing here, that Lucky falls down. And then in order to help Lucky, Pozo falls down. And in order to help Pozo, the two tramps, Trigon and Vladimir, also fall down on the ground. And that creates a very comic and also a very horrible kind of a situation in the play. So once, if you get a chance to read the text of this Act 2, you can read this part very critically to understand a lot of meaning that is there inside it. So Lucky falls, and then Pozo also falls down. The two tramps, that is Vladimir and Trigon, they consider the idea of helping them. They also consider the idea of beating them. While trying to help them, they also fall down. And they found it difficult to get up. Somehow, they managed to help Pozo on his feet, but he keeps falling time and again. It also has been hinted in the play at this juncture that Pozo appears to have lost his memory. Right? And then after some time, they got up, they were successful in getting Pozo stand on his legs, and then Lucky also. And then these two leave once again. These two leave once again from the stage. And as soon as these two once again leave from the stage, in the same way, just after they left in Act 1, the messenger boy appeared. So here also the messenger boy appears. Right? Now, this is again very confusing that this messenger boy who appears in Act 2, is he the same messenger boy who appeared in Act 1, or was he a different one? That is very confusing. So the whole torture of the evening has now come to put to an end by the coming of this messenger boy, right? One of them think he was the same boy, but the boy says he's not the same. He did not come in Act 1. He says he must be my brother. I am coming to you for the first time. The boy denies his coming before this time. I mean, before Act 2. So now at this they conclude that either the boy have also lost his memory, you know, either the boy have also lost his memory, or the boy must be at least having some brother, another messenger boy who came in the previous act. Anyways, once again the same message is given, the same message is repeated, that Godot has sent the message that he is, although he's not canceling the meeting, he's just postponing it, right? He's not coming today, he's not coming today, but he has made a promise that he will surely come the next day. And at this juncture, the play comes to an end. The curtain falls. Friends, when I have told you earlier that when the play begins, nobody comes in. There is no entrance. There is no physical entrance as such. Similarly, as the curtain falls and as the play ends, nobody moves out of the stage. There is no exit actually. So the two tramps have to come once again the next day. They have to wait for Godot once again the next day, right? They consider once again to end their life. There is nothing with which they can hang themselves or commit suicide, right? Trigon offers the cord with which the trousers were held in place. Vladimir says that much. So ये सारी चीजें, and when Estragon pulls out the trouser falls down to his ankles. This happens in in Act 2 when they try to commit suicide, right? So so with this, the play comes to an end. Now they have to leave for the night. But as I told you, that nobody moves in this play, right? So Vladimir stands at his fixed place. Estragon goes to that very fixed mound, right? So Vladimir reminds Estragon to pull on his trouser before leaving. And although they say that they are leaving, but when the curtain falls, they are still standing on the stage, right? So let us stop the discussion of story here. And with the help of this discussion of the story, when we will meet in our next class, we'll try to take up some critical issue. Thank you very much. Thank you.